Hello and welcome to the Unstoppable Masculinity Podcast. Today we are graced with the presence of Kevin Paulraj over here. A little bit about Kevin. Kevin, in my opinion, is one of the leading minds on something called values. And I've been to one of his workshops and I've seen the change in people in the room. And you might think values, oh yeah, I know what that means. Trust me, you don't. So I wanted to chat with Kevin today to hopefully break down this topic a bit more and how he's helping people, particularly men, install values and find their values in their lives. So, welcome, Kevin. How are you?
Yeah, really good, man. Thank you so much for having me on. And I'm so happy that you see the difference because a lot of people, as soon as they hear that word, they check out and they think that they know what it means. But I'm glad that you picked it up, that it is very, very different to what people actually think it is. And if you understand it at this depth, not only does life open up and you see life clearly, but so many things can open up for you. You understand people so clearly. You will understand why people quote unquote betray, and you realize it was never really a betrayal. They were just loyal to their values. You start to understand how to influence people, what truly drives people, and therefore what drives yourself, and how to solve problems like doing the things you don't want to do, but you know you have to, or not knowing what your purpose is, which is probably the biggest one. And the beauty with the topic of values is purpose is a quantifiable, predictable process that you can go through. And within 45 minutes, I will tell you exactly what you need to do with your life to give you the maximum amount of ROI in all different areas of life. So in summary, thank you so much for interviewing me on it. It's a topic that I absolutely love and happy to dive deep.
That's amazing. I mean, you have a lot of clients. You've been doing this for a long time. Uh, do they come to you with this question about, what is my purpose? What am I good at? I just don't feel this level of fulfillment that I think I should feel. Is that the state that they come to you with?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people come to me for different reasons. People can come to me for lack of discipline, lack of confidence, struggling being assertive at work, struggling with self-doubt, struggling with procrastination, struggling to be organized, feeling like they're a bit lost, struggling with too much emotional chaos, which involves overthinking, anxiety, forms of depression as well. So it could be any forms of these, but yeah, I would say a lot of people do come to me, particularly young men, going, I don't know who I am. I don't know what to do in my life, and I don't know what to focus on. And I feel like I need to know, because if I knew that I know where to put my action, I know where to focus on, so I can get the most out of life. So yeah, my answer to you is yes. I think a lot of people come there for that reason.
That's amazing. So like if someone came to you in that state in the beginning, what's the first thing you do to start working with them, to start like laying the foundations?
So what's interesting is even if they don't come to me for finding their purpose, I actually always first focus on identifying what their values are. Because number one, I'll teach them the importance of values, because the first thing they're probably thinking is like, why does values matter? Right? And they need to know, because otherwise it's pretty useless doing values if you don't understand the importance of it. And the importance of values for any single human being, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a young man trying to master your life, whether you are a 9 to 5 worker, any demographic you come from, values has something that it can teach you and it can empower you with. And that could be helping you perform better. That could be improving your discipline. That could be helping you solve motivation problems. That could be helping you influence people. That could be helping you become the most resilient version of yourself and bounce back from problems as much as you possibly can. That could be from simply just giving yourself so much more energy because you're focused on the things that you truly love, right? Or even just getting clear on what you need to do in your life, once again, to give you massive ROI. But yeah, so the first thing I do is, number one, teach them about values. Number two, identify what their actual values are. And then once we identify what their values are, then you can turn those values into goals. Because I always tell people, a lot of other coaches or a lot of other people will say, write down your goals. Well, how do you know that the goals that you're writing are not goals that your parents want you to do, or goals of what society want you to do, or goals of what friends think is cool, or what social media is saying is the latest new trend? Okay. And if you don't know that, which you'll be surprised at how many people don't know that. And people get confused because they get confused thinking that what the world or the preachers or the teachers or their friends want is what they should do. And then they end up going down a path of what they don't really want to do. And they end up, very, very dissatisfied in life and depressed, going, man, I'm not really focusing on what I truly want. So the first thing we do is get clear on their values. Then we write goals down based on what their values are. As an example, it's like, you hear about this story all the time where maybe the Indian parents' kid, they tell him that he needs to be a lawyer, and he focuses on law. He does it, and he gets more and more depressed. And as the time goes on, he just feels like something's eating at him. He's struggling to be focused. He's sabotaging with drugs addictions, with porn, with sugar, with social media. He doesn't know why it's happening. And only later on in life, he realizes that he was actually living a path that was completely laid out for him, not by himself, by what his parents actually wanted him to do. And that all of that problem could have been fixed if he actually did a values process, and he was shown that this is the area that he really needed to focus on. So first, teach them about values, find what their values are, write goals down based on what those values are, and create a structure to go and follow them. That is basically the life mastery process. Because what you will find is anytime you are not doing something that are according to your highest values, you will struggle with motivation. You will struggle with instant gratification. These are the people that, they come to work, and as soon as they get to work, they're not doing something that's related to highest values. The first thing they do is, woo! I can't wait for Friday, man, because they can't wait to get to the end of the week because they hate their life. Whereas they think that's the norm. But what they might not be aware of is there are people on this planet who absolutely love what they do and who literally can't wait for Monday to get back and do what they truly love, so they don't actually have to escape from the life that they've created. And it all starts with values, value-aligned goals, and then value-aligned actions.
That's amazing. I think that's a very powerful thing that you just mentioned, and you put it in a way that I think most people, when they hear this, they haven't really had this positioned for them in this particular way, which is why it's so incredible what you do. I have two questions. One, could you define values for us? Your definition would be the best right now. And I have another personal question, which is a follow-up. Once you know your values, how do you defend them in a world that wants you to give them up for societal values? Anyway, we'll start with the first one.
Yeah. So the first question is, what are values? And values, very simply put, are things or priorities that we value in life. Okay? So this could be anybody's. And every single human being, regardless of their culture, their race, what they're coming from, their background, regardless of anything, every single human being has a set of priorities, high priorities and low priorities. So for example, for me, my highest priority would be teaching personal development. As you can see, I'm very lit up when I'm doing it right now. Second is business growth. Third is family. And fourth is health and fitness, right? So now those are my highest four, but I can have a fifth value and a sixth value and a ninth value and 199th value. And at the bottom of the list are something that we call low values. So for me particularly, the things that are low values are things like or cleaning, or doing administration, or focusing on my finances. So what you will understand is every human being has a set of high values and low values in their lives. Okay? Every human being has it. And the second thing to mention there is every human being's values are uniquely unique to them. It's very, very unique. Everyone has a different order. You can have similar orders as your friends, and that's a funny thing. If you have similar values to your friends, that usually is the driving force between why you're actually attracted to each other anyway. But basically what actually happens is we all have values. Now, whatever is a high value to you, you are automatically more inspired in those areas. I don't need any motivation or discipline or forcing me to get myself to do things when it comes to my business, when it comes to health and fitness. I have almost never missed a day when it comes to the gym, right? But when you go down the list, that's when you struggle with things like motivation. That's when you struggle with, and you're needing more reminders and for, systems to force yourself to do things. Like if you're listening, have you ever asked yourself, you might be thinking, man, I have a motivation problem. But have you ever asked yourself why you don't have much of a motivation problem in some areas and why in other areas you do have a motivation problem? See, that's very, very important to understand, because as soon as you understand that, that gets rid of the shame. Because now you're automatically more inspired, you take more action in, you less procrastinate on the areas that are most important to you. So instead of thinking, oh my God, something's wrong with me, I'm not inspired to do this thing, you can actually remove the shame and start to realize that there are areas that you are naturally more focused at, more disciplined at, more reliable at. Right? So basically, here's what we understand. Every human being has a set of high priorities and low priorities. Every human being's set of priorities are very unique to them. Whatever is a high priority, you're more inspired. Whatever is a low priority, you're less inspired. As you go up the ladder and you're doing activities in those high areas, you're automatically most reliable, more disciplined, more consistent, and basically at your best. The more you go down the ladder, the less disciplined, the more procrastination, the more you say things like, I should, I didn't do it, I will get around to it. And the more you go up the ladder, you say things like done, right? So basically you see a stark difference, and there are thousands of differences. There's so many differences between these areas. As an example, one could be when you're doing something in your highest value, you will actually notice, right, that actually gives you the most fulfillment. You feel the most meaning, and therefore you are not actually participating much in instant gratification behavior. You will notice that what actually has happening scientifically, when you're doing something in your highest value, whether that's business or cooking or cleaning or finance or fishing or health and fitness, you are actually engaging your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of your brain that's responsible for governing rationality, for logic, for thinking, for reasoning. Now, when you're doing something in your lower values, you'll automatically put blood and glucose and oxygen into your amygdala, which is the part of your brain that's responsible for fight or flight, which is basically avoid pain, seek pleasure. This is why when you're not doing something that you love, you are engaging more in porn, in sugar, in social media gratification, in gossiping, in putting others down, because you're looking for quick hits because you're not living a meaningful life. And that's where the quote that says, he who has no meaning in his life will distract himself with useless pleasures. Why is that happening? It's because you don't have meaning in your life. Where does meaning in your life come from? Your highest values. So your values are basically a set of priorities, and your highest values are basically where you are at your best. Why is that important to know? Because if you understand that you're at your best, now you understand what type of jobs that you should take, right? If your highest value is family, it might be not a wise thing to take a job that's going to be getting you to travel all around Australia or travel all around the world. If gaming or technology is a high value to you, that tells you that you should pick a job that's got to do with those areas. If gaming or technology is a high value to you and you're going and working as a salesperson selling some sort of solar panel, that's got nothing to do with technology or gaming. So you're not really going to feel much inspired. So it helps you make your decisions. It helps you align your life. It gives you clarity on what you should focus on. It tells you where you're going to actually be the best in your life. It tells you where you're going to be the most engaged. And it is also the plan of what to fill your time and your priority with so you can participate less in instant gratification activities. So there's so many things I could go on, and I've probably already gone long enough, but I'll wait for the questions. But that's a bit of an understanding as to what values actually are. And by the way, another way to put your values is you hear all these terms: your purpose, your chief aim, your dream, your main thing, your métier. All these things are basically another way of talking about the thing that we call your highest values.
Fantastic. I mean, it sounds to me like values could be something I'm a marketer in my soul, so if I reposition this, it would be values like how to succeed while having a great time. Because it sounds like you're building a strategy, a life strategy on something that's extremely sustainable, like self-sustained motivation and inspiration in a direction that you actually care about. So success naturally follows that because everyone else who's not functioning from their highest values, as we know, they're going to need external sources of stimulus to motivate them and validate them, and they're going to burn out.
That's right. That's right. Now, here's what's interesting, and here's what I think I'm going to love to share with a lot of your audience. A lot of your audience, they listen to maybe Alex Hormozy, maybe Tony Robbins, maybe Hamza, maybe Andrew Tate. Okay, you got all these voices. Jordan Peterson. Here's a funny thing. All of these influencers will tell you that this is what they did to be successful. You got to work hard. You got to do meditation. You got to focus on your goals. You got to hang around with better people. And here's a really interesting thing. All of them will tell you completely different things. So let me ask you a question. How is it possible if all of them are telling you different things, but they're all saying that's the reason why they're successful because I work hard, where another one says, no, I don't work hard. I follow the thing that guides me, and I actually don't put so much pressure on myself. And another person says, no, it's because I meditate. Another person says, no, it's because of my habits. Another person says, no, you don't need any habits. You don't need any morning routine. So where is the truth? And here's what I'll tell you. There is only one truth, and that is every single one of these people are following their highest values. Tony Robbins knows that teaching personal development and creating experiences in personal development is his highest value. Alex Hormozy, he knows business is his highest value, right? Gary Vee, he also knows business and TikTok and social media is his values. So they're all talking about and engaging and focusing on and taking action in their highest values. That is the one thing that you can look at and say every single person that's successful actually follows that. Not all this bullshit that you hear on social media. So that is actually the truth behind that. And there is another thing. All of these people, not only do they follow their highest values, their ability to not prioritize someone else's values or what someone else is saying that they should do, and their ability to just go, hey, this is what people are saying, these are opinions they're having, I'm not really going to take heed, I'm not really going to focus on that, I'm not really going to listen to what they're saying, I'm going to focus on what I'm saying. It's those people will have the ability to succeed in what they're doing. The people not only who are following their values, but the people who don't get distracted by the opinions of others, or another way of saying the values of others. Because people will project their values onto you. No, he should be more focused on family. No, he should be more focused on rest. No, he should be more focused on gym. No, he should be more focused on eating healthy, right? Those are all external values. Look at Warren Buffett. He's so successful. He eats absolute shit, right? Now, did he get there because he was eating super healthy? No, right? He's focusing on his highest value, finance, and he crushed that, and that's what he did, and he's crushing it. And here's another thing. When you are focusing on your highest values, it's actually when you are the most healthy. It's the least amount of stress that you will feel because you're actually the most resilient in that particular area. That's why when people say, hey, look, burnout happens. Burnout doesn't happen because of a lot of work. How much work do you think J.K. Rowling would have been putting in when she was writing Harry Potter? Do you think she got burnt out when she was in a room, trapped in that room, obsessed with Harry Potter? Did she get burnt out? No. She didn't get burnt out because she's following her highest value. She's doing what she loves. Burnout doesn't come from working hard. Burnout comes from not doing the things that is your highest value, or another word of saying, not doing what you truly love.
That's amazing. There's a part in the Masculine Playbook where I talk about values because I think it's an incredibly important concept, and I think you're the one that put me on to really thinking about it properly and deeply. And so I categorized it. It's the last chunk of the book, and I call it the sovereign principles for men.
Yeah.
Because I think this is one of those things that actually make you sovereign, like a free thinker, on the path that makes sense, that feels right, that's in alignment with you, and sometimes you feel like you're in alignment with God, if you want to take a religious perspective.
Oh, yeah, I see that.
Where you're getting the most inspiration and getting the most output, you're giving and receiving in equal parts, and you feel balanced and aligned. So that's fantastic. How would someone? Sorry,
can I just talk into that, right? Something that I've never heard done is that, you've just said, when you're a free thinker, right? And by the way, you're most a free thinker when you are actually talking about or engaging in your highest values. You basically said it's almost divine. And I will prove a supernatural element to you right now. And you might think, well, how are you going to, maybe your science, and you're thinking, how are you going to prove a supernatural component? I'll tell you, this is the best example. And I want everyone listening to think about this for a second. I want you to imagine that you go to a party and you're having a conversation with someone. And they are not talking about anything that's a high value to you. If for you business is a high value to you, they're not talking about business. If for you gym is a high value to you, they're not talking about gym. If for you anime is a highest value, they're not talking about anime. If for you music is a high value, they're not talking about music. So just imagine that all the key areas that you have a high value in, they're not talking about it. Now, while you're talking, you'll notice these thoughts. Oh my God, what do I say next? What do I say next? I don't know what to say. So you're thinking, you're scrambling in your brain, right? And if you guys have ever had that experience, you're thinking about what to say. You're thinking about what to say. You're thinking really, really hard, right? But here's what's interesting. When you're talking to someone who's got your same highest values, you're not even thinking about what to say. You're just flowing without even thinking. So let me ask you guys this question. How are you having a perfect conversation without even thinking? Where is that coming from? How are you just getting the answers without even thinking? Right? Sometimes you can be in your head, you might be playing basketball and just, do I move left? Do I move right? But sometimes you're so in flow, usually doing the thing that you absolutely love, your body is not even thinking about what to do, it just knows. How the F are the answers coming to you without even thinking? How is that possible? That the answers come to you without even thinking? That is a supernatural component, and that comes when you're doing something in your highest values. That is the divine.
That's amazing. I think that made it quite practical. Yeah, because sometimes these words like supernatural, spiritual, it's hard. It's hard to actually pin them down. We know we have these experiences, right? Like where you said you're in a moment, and sometimes you feel like you're getting intuition that tells you exactly what's going on with this specific person. You're picking up these
Yes.
things. But it's very hard to explain, and I think you've done a fantastic job saying,
Yeah. And this is why for, I know a lot of your audience, what do they want? Like my understanding is that they want to get good at dating, they want to get jacked, they want to become successful, they want to be admired, they want to be envied of. And obviously, let's just go to the element of girls, right? So once again, if someone is listening and they're going, hey, I'm nervous around girls, I don't even know what to talk about. Once again, I want you to think about this. I want you to imagine that you go to let's just say that you go to a party and you meet a girl, right? And I just want you to imagine that maybe gaming and maybe personal development is a high value to you, okay? You walk into this and she's super hot and you're talking to her, and while you're talking to her, she's not talking about any of your highest values, okay? In your head, you're anxious, you're worried about what am I going to say? Am I making a fool of myself? Once again, you're in your head. But all of a sudden, she tells you that she's going to a personal development convention that night, and she's also telling you that she's taken the next 3 days off because she's been sick and she can't wait to play video games. And she's playing the same game that you love, God of War. Now, for you guys who are in this conversation, imagine this. How much does your confidence now shoot up? Right? Your confidence now shoots up a ton. And why is that? Because now you don't have to pretend. Now you are being authentic because you are talking about the thing that you truly love. So you are no longer putting her on a pedestal as much. You are talking about the thing that you truly love, and therefore that's where the confidence is coming from. And now you're not having this feeling of, I need to pretend to be into fashion, I need to pretend to be into this, which are injections from someone else's highest values. You're talking about what you truly love to talk about, and you know that she's listening to it as well, and now you're engaged, and now the conversation is flowing, and you're having fun, and you're most authentic, so she sees you at your best, and therefore she's more attracted to you, all because you're talking to someone with your highest values. Now, why is this important to understand? Because, think about this for a second, right? Think about this. So, give me just 1 second, my dog is... So now think about this for a second, right? Sorry, it was my dog. Think about, now you might be thinking, oh, well, how do I now use that information? Okay, well, how do I now... Okay, so you might be thinking, I've got to put myself out there. No. Let me tell you exactly how you use values. You identify what your values are. You find the top 5, and then you go out and hang out with those places where those people are. So if it's a gaming convention, go and hang out with gaming conventions, because if you meet a girl there, you're so much more likely to be authentic. You're so much more likely to actually approach them. You're so much more likely to be authentic to them and be more attracted to them and actually get them, right? Let's just say personal development is a high value to you. Go and hang out at the personal development seminar, right? And then go hang out, because you're most likely, you're most confident, so you're most likely to put yourself out there. You're most authentic, so you're most likely to be attractive to them, right? And you're most likely to know what to say automatically. right? So once again, this is how practical this information can be, and I'm only just touching the surface of how practical this concept could be when it comes to values and how you actually view values and how it actually makes you authentic when you're doing these things. So anyway, I'll let you ask the questions, but I'm getting carried away. By the way, why am I getting carried away? Because I'm talking about the thing that I truly love, and you can see my energy, you can see how sharp I am, you can see how on point I am with what I'm saying. I'm not usually this sharp if I'm talking about, let's just say, video games, or I'm talking about couches. I'm so sharp when I'm talking about the area that I have a very high value on, which is personal development. And this is another thing. You might think, oh, well, I'm not really an extrovert. Well, guess what? You're an extrovert when you're talking about your highest values. What's another myth they say? They say, oh, people love to talk about themselves. Bullshit. People like to talk about their highest values. So the amount of myths I can break with this concept is unbelievable, but I'll just leave it to you, Sam.
Yeah, no, you are totally correct. This is a very, very deep concept, especially when you get into the application,
Yeah.
because I think you touched on something brilliant there, which is the confidence boost that comes from your values, like genuine confidence, not the confidence hacks that most people are trying to slap on from YouTube videos. There's a very big difference in how that feels. There's a very big difference in your physiology, how you stand, how you look, how blood
Yeah.
moves through your body with genuine confidence.
Yeah.
So the stuff you're doing is incredible. Um, I think we will have to come back together and pick up this topic, maybe
Sure.
even dive into a workshop because I think this is so valuable. Values, valuable, pun not intended. Um,
Yeah.
but where can people who want to learn about this topic and want to find more about what you teach, where can they go? And tell us more about what's coming up for you.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing. Yeah, so basically, if you just type in Kevin Paulraj on Google, you'll find there's unlimited links about me, unlimited content about me. But even if you just go on Instagram and you type in Kevin Paulraj Coaching, that's Kevin Paulraj Coaching. You should find my Instagram. You'll find my TikTok from there. You'll find a lot of information, unlimited content that you can browse on. And if you want to get in touch, just feel free to DM me on Instagram and we can basically take it from there.
You still running that Facebook group, Kevin?
Sorry?
You still running a Facebook group, a private group?
Not at the moment. Not
Okay,
at the moment.
cool. Well,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
put all the links in the description because I think once people listen to this episode and really get it, like there's a moment where you talk about values, and I think there's a moment that clicks with people that really resonates, and they're going to want to go down a rabbit hole, and I really encourage them to do so
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's a very
yeah,
profound topic. But thank you, Kevin. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's always a pleasure talking to you, and I have no doubt there's going to be a part two of this.
yeah, for sure,
All
for
right.
sure, for sure. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, bud. Cheers.